Welcome back to Programming with Qt Widgets. I'm Jesper Petersen from KDAB, and I guess there's a pretty good chance that you landed on this video by searching for how do I tell which items are selected in a QListVIew. And the answer to that is not entirely trivial. All the cool kids talk about it. Rust. It's more safe. It's better concurrence. There's many benefits. But how do you go from your C code base onto Rust? Well, talk to us and we can help you. Let's start out on the class QListVIew, which is the widget to show a single list of items and the items being supported by a QAbstractItemView subclass. So that's the list view or the list version of a model view item. And what is the current selected? Well, I would expect to be able to do selected. And indeed, there is selected index. So let me just use that. Re-implemented protected functions. So that means that I cannot use that, especially if I just instantiated a QListVIew and I want to know which items are selected. Well, I could go to the superclass and find the selected index, but it's definitely also protected in the superclass, and the documentation tells me to go and ask. Let's just see if I can get to it from here. Go and list view selected index. Qt re-implements this one. That's good. Go and look at Q item selection model selected indexes. I'll bet you that in the good old days, in the early 2000s, when some people at Trolltech had implemented model view and they were all high on abstraction, and we have this QAbstractItem model that you subclass from, and then you can have these QAbstract proxy models, and it's all super cool. And then we need to have selection. Wow, do we just have a selected index method? That's going to be too lame. No, we need an abstraction for that too. We need some kind of model that represent our selection. Any good names for that one? Oh yeah, that's a great name. Q item selection model, which makes the whole world think, at least for a few minutes, that this has to do something with models from model view. No, it's just a class that represents what is currently selected. You get to that model by simply going to your QAbstractItemView, so QListVIew, QTableView, QTreeView, and ask for the selection model. That will return an instance of that QAbstract, where are you again? I forgot a Q selection model. See? Never remember that. And once you have your hands on that, you can connect to signals, or you can go and simply ask it for what are your selected indexes. So why is it so complex? Well, I don't know. I guess they got all carried away, and it is powerful. You have to give it that. But let me show you an example. Up here, I have a selection, and you might think that to be a rather weird selection. And you would at least think that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 operations to get that selection, but that's not true. But I'll get back to how it's selected. Before we go there, I can show you that I can select, and when I drag out a selection here, the cells are being updated. That's just to show you that I can react to current, to the selection. I can even add to those in weird ways here if I want to. And also, if you notice down here, row 6 column 0, that is my current item, and all of that is set up. So what I have here is a QMain window. In my main window, I create this current label. I have a status bar that I added to. That's how it shows up there. I create a table view. That's the whole thing in here, and I set this intro widget with a table view. That is very old news by now. I create a standard item model. And you have seen standard item model in this episode, in the previous episode, and in the episode before that, I talked about standard item model, but that's simply because standard item models are the easiest to use when I want to just show something super trivial. Do not get into the impression that you should always use QStandardItem model. You should subclass and implement your models yourself. Subclass from QAbstract, list, table, or, well, item model. Okay, so I have my selection model here. I go to my view and I ask for its selection model. And now I have the view's selection model. It has a number of signal, selection current change, which I connect to the current changed slot in here, and selection change, which I connect to update selection. And let's go and look at the current change. That is not where I want to go. I want to go there. The current change, simply take the current item's index as a parameter. So const Q model index current, and I, on my label, simply set up here by asking for the current row and the current column. The selection, update selection, which I got from the signal selection changed, takes both the old or the new selected and the old selected indexes, and it takes those in a Q item selection. So one level more of indirection before I get to actually know what is selected. Well, I can go and ask it for the indexes of the items being selected. Iterate through that the usual way here and set data. So when I select items here, set data on each of those items with the text. And those that were deselected, well, iterate through that list too, and simply call set data to be nothing, which is how you can see when I move somewhere else, the previous selection is deselected. Finally, let's look at what does the selection from C++ look like. I've restarted the application up here so you can see what was selected before, when it started up, that is. So for that, I need to create instances of QItem selection. And I specify 2 coordinates for the selected rectangle. So from 0, 0 to 2, 2. So that's from here to here. And then on the model itself, I call selects. So set this selection that I specified up here, and the items should be selected. If there had already been a selection, it wouldn't have been cleared. If I needed to do that, I would need to say ampersand bar Q item selection model almost clear. There we are. Or clear and select. I'll bet you that clear and select is clear and select, or clear. Oh, gee. Anyway, that's selecting these 9 cells here. Next part is from 6,0 to 8,0. So that's here to here, these 3 cells. I am selecting them. I don't clear, I'm selecting them. So that's in addition to what's already selected. And then bar rows, which means that all of these 12 cells will be selected. And finally, selecting the third part, or the third is 0, 0 to 0, 0. So that's this cell here only. And now I select columns. So select the whole column, but I toggle it with the ampersand or the bar and then toggle, which means that those that was selected will be unselected and those that wasn't selected will be selected, which gives me this weird selection that we have up there. Worthwhile? I'll bet you that in 98.98% of the times, all you have are selections of rectangles or selections of rows or columns. If you really push it, you might actually have multiple selections in there, but that will be it. But you have all the power, and that is the reason why you have to do this. And I'll bet you that your last and final question is, how do I deselect? Or not how do I deselect? How do I disable all of this? Because I don't want a selection that looks like this. That's just a weird selection. Or what I want is just to have continuous selections. And for that, remember QAbstractItemView. Just picking QAbstractItemView has a set selection mode where I can specify what kind of selection I want. That is it in this whole section on model view. We've gone through 16 episodes, if I count correct. 14 if you ignore the first 2 warmer ups where I was talking about the item widgets. 14 episodes on model view. It is a gigantic piece of code. Do you know it all now? I hope not, because I got 20 more episodes to go. And now you're like, 20 more episodes, what are you possibly going to talk about? Well, these are 20 episodes from Qt Widgets and more. And in Qt Widgets and more, there's a lot of just how do you do this? Things that you might not be able to do even once you have watched these 14 episodes by now. And some of them will overlap a bit with what you watched, I know. But in the next episode, I will give you links to all of these 20 episodes. So do stay in there, if for nothing else, for just one more episode on model view with a bunch of links to good stuff. Until next time, have a great time.